If you're a golf fan, or even if you just casually follow the sport, you'll remember that jaw-dropping moment when Jordan Spieth pulled off one of the most unconventional yet brilliant moves ever seen on the course. It was during the Phoenix Open when Spieth, faced with what looked like an impossible lie, took the golf world by surprise with a left-handed shot using his putter. The crowd went wild. Fans were left speechless, some even questioning if what they had just witnessed was real. In that moment, Spieth didn't just make a shot, he made a statement. He proved that creativity, adaptability, and a bit of boldness could turn an impossible situation into one of golf's most iconic plays. This article is going to break down exactly what happened, why it was so stunning, and how it's impacting the golfing world forever. From the setup of the Phoenix Open to the execution of that unforgettable shot, let's dive into what made this moment so special. The Phoenix Open is no ordinary golf tournament. It's one of the most unique events on the PGA Tour calendar. For one, it's held at the TPC Scottsdale, a course that's as challenging as it is exciting. The course is known for its narrow fairways, tricky greens, and numerous hazards that make every shot count. But perhaps the most distinctive feature of the Phoenix Open is the energy of the crowds. Unlike most golf tournaments where the atmosphere is relatively calm and quiet, the Phoenix Open feels more like a rock concert. Fans are loud, passionate, and constantly engaged. They're not just there to watch a sport, they're there to be part of something thrilling. And this added energy can make the stakes feel even higher. Now, as for Jordan Spieth, he entered this tournament with a bit of pressure on his shoulders. After a few years of mixed performances, fans and analysts were watching closely to see if he could regain his former glory. Spieth had always been one of golf's most exciting players, winning major titles early in his career. But after a slump, there were questions about whether he could get back to that level. His performances leading up to the Phoenix Open were solid, though not spectacular. He was still trying to find consistency in his game, especially with his putting. But there was always this sense that at any moment, he could turn things around. And that's exactly what he did. Which brings us to the moment that set the stage for Spieth's iconic shot. It was the 11th hole, and Spieth's ball had found itself in a place no golfer wants to be, in a bush. We've all been there, right? You hit a perfect shot, or so you think, and then it lands in a spot where the odds of recovering it seem close to zero. In this case, Spieth had a terrible lie. The ball was deep in the shrubbery, with almost no way to get a clean shot at the hole. The lie was bad, the position was worse, and to make matters even more complicated, Spieth had to factor in the angle of the shot, the position of the hole, and the wind, all of which added up to an almost impossible situation. As Spieth approached the ball, you could see the wheels turning in his mind. The first thing you're probably thinking when you're in a spot like that is, what now? And for most golfers, this is where the stress and frustration really set in. Spieth, though, didn't panic. He took a step back, assessed the situation, and started to consider his options. He could try to hack it out of the bushes with a wedge, but that wasn't a guarantee. He could go for the aggressive option, hoping to make something miraculous happen. Or he could simply take a step back and think outside the box. And that's exactly what he did. The moment that set the stage for Spieth's iconic shot. It was the 11th hole, and Spieth's ball had found itself in a place no golfer wants to be, in a bush. We've all been there, right? You hit a perfect shot, or so you think, and then it lands in a spot where the odds of recovering it seem close to zero. In this case, Spieth had a terrible lie. The ball was deep in the shrubbery, with almost no way to get a clean shot at the hole. The lie was bad, the position was worse, and to make matters even more complicated, Spieth had to factor in the angle of the shot, the position of the hole, and the wind, all of which added up to an almost impossible situation. As Spieth approached the ball, you could see the wheels turning in his mind. The first thing you're probably thinking when you're in a spot like that is, what now? And for most golfers, this is where the stress and frustration really set in. Spieth, though, didn't panic. He took a step back, assessed the situation, and started to consider his options. He could try to hack it out of the bushes with a wedge, but that wasn't a guarantee. He could go for the aggressive option, hoping to make something miraculous happen. Or he could simply take a step back and think outside the box. And that's exactly what he did. And then Spieth made it happen. With calmness and precision, he lined up the shot, adjusted his grip, and with a smooth stroke, he sent the ball rolling. The shot was nothing short of impressive. It wasn't just about hitting the ball with the putter. It was about controlling the angle, managing the lie, and using the unique skill to make sure the ball found its way back into play. There was something almost poetic about it. Spieth was taking control of a situation that seemed completely out of his hands and using nothing but creativity and skill to salvage it. Watching him make that shot was like witnessing art in motion. It wasn't just a display of athleticism. It was a testament to his ability to adapt and think in the moment. The outcome was even more stunning than the shot itself. Spieth managed to get the ball back into play, putting himself in a position where he could save par. The crowd erupted into cheers. It was a moment of pure brilliance that had fans on their feet. Even though Spieth didn't walk away with a win that day, the impact of that shot was undeniable. It wasn't just about the score, it was about the move that stunned the entire golfing world. The shot became a symbol of the unpredictable nature of the sport and how one moment of creativity could change everything. Spieth's decision to pull off the left-handed putter shot not only salvaged the hole, but also reignited the excitement and wonder that golf fans had been missing. It was a reminder that golf is not just about technique. It's about thinking on your feet, improvising when necessary, and making the most of even the worst situations. Spieth's boldness set the tone for the rest of the tournament, and it's safe to say that his move will be remembered as one of the most creative and daring plays in recent golfing history. For those lucky enough to witness the shot live, it was a moment they'll never forget. The reactions from fans were immediate and filled with astonishment. Many fans described the shot as unreal or something out of a golf legend's playbook. One fan, who was sitting in the stands near the hole, recalled the collective gasp from the crowd when Spieth made his move. "We were all just sitting there watching him take a swing with a putter, and then it happened. The ball rolled perfectly back into play." I've never heard the crowd roar like that. "It was one of those moments where you just knew you were watching history being made," said one excited spectator. Another fan shared how the shot made them reconsider how they viewed Spieth's game. "Spieth has always been one of my favorites, but after that shot, I'm convinced he's a magician on the course. To do something so bold, so unexpected, it was like watching someone rewrite the rule book in real time. I'm not sure how anyone could top that move anytime soon." The general sentiment from fans was one of pure admiration. They didn't just appreciate the skill it took to make that shot, they marveled at Spieth's confidence and mental toughness to even attempt something like that under the pressure of a major tournament. Fans quickly flooded social media, praising Spieth's brilliance and sharing clips of the shot that would soon go viral. Golf analysts too were stunned by Spieth's move. For them, it wasn't just a shot, it was a statement. What Spieth did at the Phoenix Open was one of the most creative moments I've ever seen in golf, said renowned golf analyst David Feherty. "In all my years of covering the sport, I've never seen someone pull off a left-handed shot with a putter from a bush like that. It was a moment of brilliance, and it shows just how mentally sharp Spieth is, even in the most unpredictable situations." Other analysts noted that while the move might have seemed like a one-off, it was actually a perfect example of how Spieth has always been a risk-taker on the course. "Spieth's creativity is one of the things that makes him so special," said another analyst. "And that shot proved that he's willing to take chances when the odds are stacked against him. This isn't just about making a quirky shot, it's about his mentality to attack every moment with confidence and composure." The consensus among experts was that Spieth's move wasn't just rare, it was historically brilliant. They pointed to the fact that golf, by its nature, is a sport defined by precision and tradition, and a shot like that, executed with such flair, could easily go down as one of the most talked about moments in the game's history. During the tournament, he gained over 3 shots on the greens in 2 of the 3 rounds, a stat that has golf fans and analysts alike buzzing. But this comeback goes beyond just one tournament. It's part of a much bigger story, a story of overcoming injury, frustration, and doubt. In this article, we're going to break down how Jordan Spieth got to this point, what makes this moment so special, and what it means for his future in the game of golf. Jordan Spieth's career trajectory had always been on an upward path until it hit a bump in the road. After winning the US Open in 2015 and the Masters the same year, it seemed like he was going to be the dominant force in golf for years to come. But as is often the case in sports, things don't always stay on track. Spieth struggled to maintain that peak form. His putting in particular became inconsistent, and that was a huge part of his game. But the real setback came when he started experiencing pain in his left wrist. This discomfort had been bothering him for quite some time, but it reached a breaking point in late August 2024 when Spieth finally decided it was time to undergo surgery. The surgery was a significant moment for Spieth, not just physically, but mentally. He had been battling this issue for a while, and finally addressing it showed his determination to return to form. This wasn't a quick fix, though. Recovery from wrist surgery, especially for a golfer, is no small feat. It takes time, patience, and a lot of work. Spieth knew this and approached the rehab process with a cautious mindset. He focused on regaining his physical fitness and getting his body back into competitive shape. The goal wasn't just to get back out on the course, but to do so in a way that allowed him to perform at his highest level once again. Even with the surgery behind him, Spieth wasn't immediately back to his old self. It took time for him to find his rhythm. In fact, his form after the surgery was inconsistent, and it led to a drop in his world ranking, all the way down to number 77. This was a far cry from the top of the leaderboard where he once resided. Despite this, Spieth never lost sight of his goals. He stayed focused on short-term objectives, like contending at major tournaments and securing a spot on the US Ryder Cup team. He knew that if he could perform well in these high-stakes situations, his confidence and form would improve, even if the overall results weren't immediate. Fast forward to the Valero Texas Open, one of the PGA Tour's premier events. This tournament marked a significant turning point for Spieth. It wasn't just about finishing strong, it was about showcasing the progress he had made. Over the course of 3 rounds, Spieth displayed a level of skill that had been missing from his game for a while. But the real highlight was his putting. To put it simply, Spieth was putting like a man on a mission. In fact, in 2 of the 3 rounds, Spieth gained over 3 shots on the greens, a stat that is incredibly impressive, especially for someone who has been struggling with their putting in recent years. This wasn't just about making a few good putts here and there. This was about total control and confidence on the greens. What made this even more impressive was the fact that he did it under pressure. Spieth has always been known for his mental toughness, and this tournament was no exception. It wasn't just about hitting great shots. It was about staying composed, trusting his game, and refusing to let the challenges of the past hold him back. When you watch Spieth play, you can see how much his putting has improved. His stroke looks smoother, his reads of the greens sharper, and his overall confidence exudes from each shot. This was a guy who had been doubting himself, struggling with inconsistency, and yet here he was, putting on a clinic in one of the most important tournaments of the season. It wasn't just about numbers or rankings, it was about proving to himself and to everyone else that he still had what it takes. But Spieth's performance wasn't just a technical showcase, it was a display of mental and emotional resilience. Golf, as any golfer knows, is as much a mental game as it is a physical one. Spieth had gone through a lot over the past few years, from battling injury to dealing with the frustrations of falling out of the top ranks. Yet he was able to keep his head in the game. He knew that every round, every hole, was another step in his comeback. And by the end of the tournament, he had not only proven his skill, but his strength of character. So what does this all mean for Jordan Spieth's future in golf? Well, for one, it shows that he's not done yet. A performance like this at the Valero Texas Open signals that Spieth has rediscovered something special in his game. His putting has always been a key part of his success, and seeing him perform well in this area is a huge boost for his confidence moving forward. But it's not just about one tournament, it's about the bigger picture. If Spieth can maintain this form, it's only a matter of time before he's back in the hunt for another major championship. The potential for a comeback is certainly there. It's been a few years since Spieth won a major, but his talent is undeniable. What we've seen at the Valero Texas Open is a reminder that when he's on his game, Jordan Spieth can still compete with the best of them. If he can continue to build on this performance, don't be surprised if he's back in the winner's circle sooner rather than later. In terms of his legacy, a comeback like this would only add to his already impressive career. Spieth has faced adversity, but he's also overcome it time and time again. His ability to come back from injury, to find his form again, is something that makes his story even more inspiring. He's not just a golfer, he's a symbol of perseverance, resilience, in the pursuit of greatness, no matter the obstacles. It's often difficult for professional athletes to make the decision to step away from their sport, but Jordan Spieth's decision to undergo wrist surgery in late August 2024 was a pivotal moment in his career. For a golfer, wrist injuries are particularly challenging. The wrist is an essential part of the swing, and even minor discomfort can make it difficult to perform at the highest level. Spieth had been dealing with discomfort for quite some time, and despite pushing through it for years, the pain eventually became too much to ignore. The choice to have surgery was a significant one, but it also showed Spieth's commitment to his future. Golfers face the constant pressure of competing, often putting short-term gains ahead of their long-term health. By opting for surgery, Spieth was prioritizing his career longevity. It wasn't just about alleviating pain, it was about setting himself up for the kind of sustained success he had enjoyed earlier in his career. This decision wasn't easy, but it was a crucial one, marking his willingness to take the necessary steps to come back stronger and healthier. Recovering from wrist surgery is no simple task, especially for an athlete who relies on precision and control to excel in their sport. For Spieth, the road to recovery wasn't just about healing the injury, it was about rebuilding his confidence and regaining the physical form that had made him one of golf's top players. The rehabilitation process involved a combination of rest and therapy where he can strength training, all of which were vital in helping him regain the use of his wrist and rebuild his swing mechanics. One of the key factors in Spieth's recovery was his team, and that included his trusted caddy, Michael Greller. The relationship between Spieth and Greller has been a cornerstone of his success. Greller wasn't just there to help Spieth with club selection, he was also a constant source of emotional support throughout the recovery process. Having someone who understands your game so well can make all the difference. And Spieth relied heavily on Greller's support and guidance as he worked through the challenges of recovery. But the physical challenges were just one side of the equation. The mental aspect of recovery can be just as difficult. For someone like Spieth, who had been at the top of his game, the struggle to regain that confidence and belief in his abilities wasn't easy. But with patience and persistence, Spieth began to make strides, slowly getting back to the level of play he had once enjoyed. The road was